Hello everyone, welcome to the session of data mining. In this session, we are going to start with our unit 2, which deals with the frequent pattern mining. And in this unit 2, we are going to learn about the basic concepts and methods of mining frequent patterns and what are associations and what are correlations. And also, we are going to learn about various frequent item set mining methods and also about the sequential pattern mining and the pattern evaluation methods. Now, let us start with the frequent patterns. So, before going to that, let's understand what is pattern discovery. Suppose that if you are taking any shopping transaction, in the shopping transaction, if you want to improve any profits in that, the following questions may be arised. For example, if you want to know what group of items are frequently bought together, it means that, for example, if you are buying a milk, along with milk, what is the other item that is preferred to buy? For example, if you want to buy a bread or butter, so what is the most frequently used item that is brought with the other item? That should be analyzed. And if a person is buying something, one item during any specific time, what the other item is being preferred? Here you can see that if a person is buying a diaper at night, what is the probability of him buying the beer as well? And also, some of the customers who wants to buy new versions. For example, if a customer wants to buy iPhone 14 or 15, so what he'll do, he'll just wait for the version. So, and once it is released, he just gets that mobile, right? So here, what are the most preferable items that customer is being waiting to in order to get that? That also is to be analyzed, and that can be done with the pattern discovery. Now, what is this frequent patterns? Basically, frequent patterns are the patterns. Here, patterns refers to item sets, subsequences, or substructures which appears very frequently in the data set. So, if I'm saying that a frequent set of items, so such as milk and bread, how frequently people are buying bread along with that milk? Such sort of things we call it as what? Frequent item sets. And what is a subsequence? For example, if you are buying a mobile, later you try to prefer to buy a cover for that. Later you prefer to buy a screen guard for that. In a similar way, if you are buying a PC, then you will buy a digital camera, then you'll buy a memory card, right? So in the sequence, you'll do some sort of shopping, and that we call it as what? Sequential pattern. So we also have something called substructure patterns. What are this is? Basically, these substructure patterns, they are represented in the form of subgraphs, subtrees, or sublattices and all. So what is the substructure is? For example, if you have a social network and frequently we'll be using or sharing our photos, or will frequently chat with our friends, right? So here, among the social network, the activity which you are doing, that tagging and all, it's called what? Substructure. So that substructure forms which are there, it is represented in the form of trees or graphs. So in order to detect those substructures also, we'll be using the frequent patterns. And the substructure which is being occurred frequently, those are called what? Structured patterns. To understand these frequent patterns, there is a motivating example which is called market basket analysis. Now let us see what is this market basket analysis. Before that, so frequent item set mining. So now we are talking about frequent item set mining. What does actually it mean is, it discovers the associations as well as the correlations which are being present in the database. So what are this association and correlation? We'll learn in detail. And let us come to this market basket analysis. So what actually is this market basket analysis is, if a customer is buying a milk, how likely is trying to buy the bread, or how likely is trying to buy the cereal? So all these things, all this analysis, we call it as the market basket analysis. And why actually we are using this market basket analysis? So this helps us in order to increase the sales and also plan the shelf space which is there in that market. Now, look at this. Here we have customer 1, customer 2, customer 3. In that way, some customer n data, where customer 1, when he is buying the milk, he is buying bread as well as cereal. When coming to customer 2, when he is buying milk, he is buying bread, sugar, eggs and all. Customer 3 is buying bread and butter along with milk. In the same way, we'll analyze some n number of customers, and then who are the customers most likely to buy bread with milk, or who are the customers most likely to buy eggs with milk. So that analysis is made. Let us consider one more example. Like, let us take all electronics example, where we have all set of electronic devices which can be purchased. Now, when you are buying that, the analysis of customer buying habits of the customer can be analyzed in such a way that, first, which group or set of items are customers likely to purchase on a given trip to the store. So what set of customers are liking to buy which type of product? So to analyze this, we can perform the market basket analysis. And for in the market basket analysis, when he is trying to buy a computer, or when he is trying to buy a camera, we can see that most of the customers are preferring to buy some memory card. So whenever the customer is buying camera, it is a possibility that the customer will also buy a memory card. So in that way, if the customer is buying some software, so suppose, let us consider that we are buying some computer or laptop. When we are buying that, most of the customers try to prefer for the software also, like they try to install the antivirus software. So now the owner, if he is able to place this software or hardware together, then there is a possibility that customer can buy both hardware and software, which will increase his profits. So this is the way the market basket analysis is done. And when we are talking about the frequent patterns, there are some concepts which has to be known, which are called item set, support, and confidence. Now let us see what is item set and what is support and confidence. When you look at the item set, it means that one or more items which are present in your data, that we call it as what? Item set. And you can have any number of item sets. And what is the support is the frequency or occurrence of that item. How many times the item is being occurred in the transaction, that we call it as the support. Now we also have confidence. Then what is this confidence is, if there is an item which is called X and Y, so what is the probability that Y will be occurred in the data set where X contains? That we call it as the confidence. So let us understand this. Here we have an item set. So what is the, suppose, let me consider, I want to know just how many people wants to buy beer with nuts. To know that, here X is considered as what? Beer, and Y is considered as what? Nuts. So the integration of beer and nuts, how many times it is repeated? We can see in this example, it is repeated only once, right? So only one customer is preferring to buy that. And if we are talking about the confidence, when you are talking about the confidence, how many times beer is repeated in this transaction? You can see 1, 2, 3 times, right? Among those 3 times, how many people are preferring to buy beer along with nuts? That will give you as the confidence. So here we'll have minimum support as well as minimum confidence, so which we'll learn in detail with the association rules. Here, what is association analysis and what is this association rule mining? So basically we know that what is meant by association? When those 2 points come together or have similar properties, then we call it as the association. And here, what does the association do? It discovers the probability of occurrence of items. How many times that items is being repeated in this data set, that can be known by this association. And also it shows us the relationship between those items which are there. So if you see that those who people are buying milk, there is a possibility of that most of them will buy bread, right? So there is a strong association between this items, milk and bread. And basically we apply this on the data set which consists of object. And this object, we know that every data object is made of some set of attributes, which we call it as the dimension or features. Now what are features is, this features represents height, qualification, color, etc. and all. So now based on this data we need to mine the rules. So what is the association rule mining is, it makes us to find the interesting associations and relationships which are there among large set of data items. So if you have any large set of data items, in that large set of data items, which items are mostly associated together, how frequently that item sets are being associated, how frequently that item sets are being used in the transaction, that can be known by the association rule mining. Now, let us look at the example of market basket data. So this is an example which consisting of 6 transactions. And for a first transaction, we can see milk, bread, rice, and book is purchased by in the transaction ID of 1. In the transaction ID 2, bread, jam, book, pen. In this way, in the 6 transactions, there are items that has been purchased. And if I want to know how many people have purchased milk along with bread, I will just make a rule that milk, how many people have purchased. Next, book with pen. In a similar way, there are different associations. If you are buying laptop, there is a possibility that most of the people will buy mouse, floor stick, floor cleaner, dishwash liquid, scrubber. In this way, we'll generate all different rules. So look at this example here. One represents that in the transaction ID of 1, the milk is being purchased. Bread, here it is 1, it means that in the transaction 1, bread is purchased. If nothing is represented, it means that in the transaction ID 1, it is not purchased. In the similar way for all the transactions. So here, whatever the item set that are created, frequent item sets that can be created in 2 item set, 3 item set, or n item set. So if I want to find 2 item sets, so this is a transaction 1. This is the transaction 1. In this transaction, we have milk and bread, right? So milk and bread are the 2 things which are there in the transaction ID. So this will form a 2 item set, two frequent item sets. In a similar way, when you look at the second transaction, in the second transaction, you can see that this bread and jam are purchased together. Next, in the third transaction, we can see that milk, bread, jam, rice, or rice, eggs, these are purchased together. In the same way, if you want to find 3 item sets, so then when you look at the transaction 3, we can see milk, bread, and jam, these are purchased together. Or jam, rice, and eggs, these are purchased together. So if you want to make 4 frequent item sets, here in the transaction 6, we can say that bread, jam, rice, and eggs, all these will form a 4 frequent